Sledgelords, coolest podcast in the world. What's up, Adam?
That's not it.
That's how you start the show.
This is not No Jumper. No Jumper is the coolest podcast in the world. This is an underground podcast that we're currently doing.
I disagree. In my head, it's the coolest podcast
A band. I'm not letting go of that. We're starting a band.
A band.
These pants need to be zipped up in order for things to not fall out of them. The lighter, it's gone. The wallet, it's gone unless you zip it up.
Your dignity, left that in Vegas.
These are like Lululemon
Are they designer?
workout pants.
Are they waterproof?
Lululemon. No, they're like, well, I mean, is Lululemon designer? It's like workout gear, but it costs like...
Designer workout gear.
You might spend like $110 on some workout pants, I'm pretty sure.
My girlfriend, last Christmas, I bought her some Lululemon workout pants, and they were a size too big, and she was so mad at me.
Because
there's like 15 sizes.
Lululemon workout, like, you will see a bitch walking down the street and just be so convinced that she like had a BBL or just has like the nicest ass you've ever seen. But the truth is that the pants just, I don't know what, they like cinch in your waist and they're kind of like loose down here. They make the girl's body look so much better. Mm-hmm. It's probably not just Lululemon either, but in my head, they're the primary culprits. Mm-hmm. It's like workout gear turning into shapewear. You know about shapewear?
I know. Spanx. Spanx.
Is that a brand? Because I don't really know much about it, but I've heard a little bit.
As far as I can tell, Spanx was the original thing that made fat chicks look more f***able.
Yes.
It was the original one.
Like you no longer have to wear a muumuu.
You don't have to anymore.
You can wear these garments under your clothes that kind of give you like the BBL look. It like will break your ribs and make you horribly uncomfortable the entire time that you're wearing it. My girl refuses to do it.
She refuses to wear the shapers.
Just because I think she knows that it's probably a bad road to go down, because once you can give yourself that super tiny BBL waist look every time you go out, it's super manipulative to the audience who's looking at you, and you're not going to be able to take it off. You know, you're going to have to rock that all the time if you want to keep people fooled. Yeah, and as a sir who gets naked, it's kind of like, what's the point? Yeah.
It's a lightweight version of going home with a girl and then finding out she's transgendered. It's a step below that.
Or it's the new school version of the padded bra.
Yeah.
You have that happen to you in high school ever?
I almost knocked the girl out. I was so upset.
I've had it happen to me like on Plug Talk where the girl was wearing a crazy padded bra and then you take it off and it's like an A cup.
And guys, what can we really do? There hasn't been much traction in the padded shoe department where you can get 2 or 3 inches on your height if you're a short guy. I don't know anything about underwear that... Sheath underwear, I got sponsored by them and I was rocking sheaths. They sort of make your bulge look big.
Really?
They sort of make your bulge look big.
That's nothing I've ever put attention into, even though it would kind of make sense.
Well, it's not something you need to prioritize, but me, on the other hand, it's something I got to think about.
But in general, I don't think women are like checking out dudes' bulges that often.
I think it might be happening.
Maybe a little.
I think it's happening. I think chicks are sick. But the problem is, how often am I out in public in just my underwear?
Well, but if you posted like an underwear selfie on Instagram, and if you were to, you know, take a roll of quarters and put it in there, then I could kind of imagine it having some sort of effect on women. Make you a little bit more desirable.
My looks like a roll of quarters when it's hard, and that's not a good thing, because a roll of quarters isn't too girthy.
But that's what I'm saying. If you combine your and another roll of quarters, then we might have like a normal human size.
Instead of the of a raccoon or something.
Whatever you got. Whatever you
know what I got to do is I got to go to the bank, or I got to go to some coin collector's office somewhere in like downtown LA. I got to get a roll of Sacagawea gold coins.
Oh, that would be a nice.
Those are thick, dude.
Sacagawea.
Sacapinawea. Think about it, man. That's what I think. That's the move. Forget the cucumber in the pants. Definitely throw out the roll of quarters.
I've got a vision for you. Your new name, Sacagawea. Just name your after the dead Indian woman who presumably your is the same width as her coin.
Yeah. Is it cultural appropriation? God knows I'm worried about that.
Deeply offensive to the Indians. They don't want to be called that. They want to be called Native Americans. And they want nothing to do with your dick.
And they hate Avatar.
They do?
No, they hate it, yeah. It really degrades the Maori population.
But you buy that? You really believe this?
It happens.
Did you see it?
No, I would never see it.
Did you see the first one?
Oh. And I
haven't seen either.
In 2009, I was a complete idiot, but I can look back and be so I look back at the COVID crisis, and I'm very proud of myself that I went about my business and didn't freak out, didn't buy 25% of a local Trader Joe's supplies and then hole up in my house for 3 months. I lived my life. And I'm just as proud that in 2009, I threw a half-full cherry Coke at the IMAX screen at a theater in Folsom, California.
You hated it that much?
I threw a Coke at it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude, it sucked.
Enough to throw a drink? How did people react?
I probably didn't throw a drink. I didn't like it, though. I hated that movie.
Do you think that, like, sincerely enjoying Avatar was the 2009 version of getting vaccinated?
Yeah.
It's just a warm, fuzzy blanket that makes you feel like you might be safe for a couple hours there in the theater.
Liking Avatar is the 2009 version of posting the Blackout Tuesday square after George Floyd.
Oh, yeah, I never, like, probably when I think about 2009, 2008, that time period, that's probably when I was the deepest into living my life day by day, riding bikes, going to the bar, fucking with random girls, doing drugs, all that. Not paying the slightest iota to what was going on in mainstream culture. So the fact that Avatar existed, I guess I was aware that there was this movie full of little blue guys or whatever, but never did I even consider it. This was around the same time period that I was in a bar and a girl said something to me about the Arcade Fire. And I said, "Who's that?" And she like laughed in my face and thought that I was trolling her because she thought it was so impossible that I could have been that out of touch with like one of the most popping bands at that time. But I really was that out of touch.
And they were so not even that popping. That's just some indie hipster.
You're right.
Sociopathic.
I was in Williamsburg.
Okay.
So in that vortex, it was probably pretty inexcusable to not know who they were. And to this day, I really don't know who they are. Besides,
Williamsburg.
I could probably hear a few.
Williamsburg. They don't even have any hits, dude. It's just a way for people who are vegans to pat themselves on the back.
I spent the weekend, or the week around a vegan. And I am more convinced than ever that this is a dark lifestyle that nobody should entertain. No offense to this person.
It's crazy. I'm not even sure if we've started the podcast yet.
We're deep in it.
A rough takeoff based on who was going to call the start of the show. But I can't believe we haven't brought up your weekend, your week.
I kind of feel like we're going to talk about it the whole time. So I was just sort of like dancing around it.
We're going to lead people in gently with tales of a vegan. What did this person do?
Well, it was actually the second time that we have been to a steakhouse with them. And
you've taken a vegan to a steakhouse twice.
Well, it's like, this time it was like a 12-person dinner, so it didn't really seem that bad. Okay. But the first time it was like a dinner for them.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize they were vegan, so we took them to a steakhouse. But then, this is the crazy part, is that when we were at dinner this past weekend, one of the appetizers that they brought out are like things that they put on the table. I think that because our security the whole time happened to also be the security at this restaurant. So they sent out like a bunch of appetizers and stuff to start the meal. It was an absurd amount of food. And one of the things was like a salad. There wasn't any dressing on the salad or anything. And the vegan person was not interested in the salad.
Because
I was like, isn't this supposed to be your whole thing?
Because it had been put in a bowl next to a slab of prime rib.
I guess they're just not into vegetables.
What does a vegan eat if not vegetables?
Apparently French fries, because that was the only thing that they ate.
Is this a guy or a girl?
I'm not going to disclose that. That would make it a little too specific. And I know that hiding somebody's veganism is, I don't know. I don't even feel like I'm talking shit. I'm just...
Okay, I'm not going to go too hard on this person because I probably know them and they're probably going to get mad at me. But if you are a vegan who subsists off only French fries, do you have the body of a burlap sack filled with oatmeal?
It doesn't seem like a great idea to me.
I'm imagining a discolored skin tone, and I'm imagining the most flabby tummy.
No, they're in great shape.
Are they really?
Yeah.
And they eat only French fries. Are they bulimic? Do they work out a lot? Are they blessed with incredible genetics?
I don't really. Yeah, kind of like to all these things, probably. Not that they're specifically bulimic, but they probably have some sort of eating disorder.
So the truth comes out. It's a girl?
No comment.
It's going to bite whoever this person is. Listen, I want them to adopt the diet with a little bit of iron in it. That's all I want.
Me hiding, but I'm paranoid. You have to understand, because my girl feels like I'm going to go on this podcast this week and just talk openly about everything that happened at the porn convention, and that therefore somehow I'm going to like insult somebody or say something terrible.
Well, the anonymous vegan.
I don't really have anything terrible to say.
I'll say this anonymous vegan, when they reach the age of 30, there's going to be a massive breakdown in their body.
I wonder, because I was vegan from the age of, let's say, like 15 to 18.
What? You were doing it to get laid.
I was doing it because I was really into Earth Crisis, and I listened to all these different straight edge hardcore bands, and they kind of brainwashed me into thinking that eating animals was wrong.
Oh my God.
And also, when I say that I was vegan, I do believe I was eating cheese for like the majority of this 3 years, but at some point I wasn't. So it's blurry. But I was some form of vegetarian or vegan for like 3-4 years.
And I know you were a cock about it. Like, I know you put on a mask and went into a butcher shop and cold cocked somebody.
I burned down a McDonald's.
Meat is murder! Meat is murder! Ronald McDonald will hang for his war crimes.
No, I would go to the Nashua Walk of Fame, and when people were walking down the red carpet in their fur coats and stuff, I would throw a bucket of ketchup on them and get that whole PETA clout going. PETA actually sent me the money for the ketchup.
Mm-hmm. It's expensive.
This is a lie, but then towards the end of that like 3-year period, because I was also riding bikes during that time period. A lot, like going out riding, 8 hours a day, whatever. And my fucking body, like I could just tell that my muscles were just not repairing themselves in anywhere close to enough time, you know? And then I started eating like fish at first, and then it pretty quickly became every other meat. And, just like instantaneously, it was like, oh, my recovery time went from like a couple days to like, I felt great every day.
Your Smith grind to manual. You found you could manual for at least 25 extra feet.
Listen, you're riding around that much. I was just dying. Like my body was just like not able to handle it.
It doesn't make much sense to me logically that when humans evolved, because the majority of human history wasn't humans going around smoking cigarettes, driving automobiles. It was us in huts, raping and killing each other, and eating buffalo.
And I told you about the show Alone, right?
Yeah.
Where they go out into the woods.
Yeah.
When you watch that show, you start to realize like just how implausible being vegan is. Because fish and like deer and shit on that show are like the prime, the best thing that could possibly happen to you is to catch a big ass fish and get to eat like 1,000 calories worth of protein and fat from that fish. It's like the best thing. And then meanwhile though, you will see some women. I saw a woman on one episode of the show one season of the show who was, I think, vegan in her normal life. But then she goes in the show, she's willing to eat fish and everything to survive. But she was very, very in tune with like getting all these different like vegetables out of the ground and stuff like that. But when you were seeing the calories, it was pathetic. You have to eat an astonishing amount of vegetables and fruit to hit like even the most basic calorie limits, dude.
And they would transform, I bet, once they got that fish. Once they threw a stick and it killed a rabbit, like the vitality and energy vibrating through their body. I mean, think about it. Denying yourself meat when for, I don't know, Mikey over there, how's your anthropology? How long were humans evolving for before written civilization and history happened? Fucking hundreds of thousands.
Millions of years.
A long fucking time, dude.
A long time.
And that's like, those are the people that make their cats go vegan. It would be like at the zoo. If you went to a tiger exhibit and found out that it was eating only oatmeal and tofu, you would have the person in charge of that lion hung.
And when you look at animals that don't eat meat, like I think pandas and shit, the amount of those, what are those things? Those fucking green stalks that they're always eating?
Eucalyptus? Bamboo.
They eat the most insane amount of that shit on a daily basis. And there have been vegans I've known throughout my life, in particular back during the BMX days when fucking veganism was like a real trend and you would meet a lot of people who were vegan. They would have to eat astonishing amounts of fucking vegetables and salads and shit in order to like actually be able to be an active person.
So this vegan with you at the porn awards was just more French fries, please. Endless stream of those coming out.
Yeah, sure.
This person's a little snotty, huh?
So I
think I might know who this person is.
I want to call you out. Also, me hiding the name of the vegan person is like the lamest podcasting I've ever done in my life.
I'm getting ready for confrontation mode.
Okay. I just think you're nuts because we were out there for like 5 days. Danny Mullen flies in on, was it Friday? Saturday? I can't even remember. He flies in. He's maybe there by like 12, and I guess if I knew that you were going to be there for such a short period of time, I would have like expedited meeting up with you. But then we end up going to this like Vixen pop-up, which is basically at the porn convention, you have like the main porn convention, which is like all the brands. And then Vixen, for whatever reason, one of the biggest porn companies, they decided to do their own booth that was like in a retail store within the hotel, within the mall that was like adjacent to the convention. So basically you had to like leave the convention and walk down this mall hallway to go to this Vixen pop-up that was like pretty lit because they had a lot of the bigger girls like Tiana Trump and Riley Reid and Violet Myers. They're all posted up at this Vixen thing. And we meet up with Danny outside there. We go into the convention we go into the Vixen place for maybe an hour. And then Danny Mullen, jet setter, just hops on the plane and he's gone. Just as fast. Like he literally flew to Vegas. We hung out for like an hour and then he was out.
How do you know I was out?
Well, you said you were out because we invited you to dinner and you were like, no, I have to go. I have to get back on this plane.
How do you know that wasn't a cover story for me finding one of my favorite BBW black porn star girls, taking her to the circus and knocking the bottom off?
I was there with you the whole time and I did not see you talk to any girls besides maybe like Kazumi.
I was pimping. What are you talking about?
I saw no BBWs. I met a bunch of them.
I talked to that girl who had the mask on. You know, that girl who didn't want to ruin her future by doing porn and then trying to get a job in corporate America.
There was a girl walking around with fucking like a giant set of like ski goggles on the whole time because she's hiding her identity.
She's smart. That could have been one of the girls I had sex with.
I don't think
I'm bumping my story. Now I had sex with multiple girls. It could have been that other girl that was hanging out with her. Or again, I could have gone out to the main floor. How do you know that when I said that I was going back to the hotel with Nico, when I sent you that very polite text like, oh, thanks, man, it was great. I got to get back, though.
You were balls deep in Nico?
I didn't have Nico. While I was fucking his little asshole, how do you know I didn't have him compose that text?
And people out there, he's trying to throw you off the scent by suggesting that he might be into BBWs since we all know that you are actually dating an underage Asian woman.
Listen, an underage Asian woman? She's 5 years past the mark.
Well, she's under a certain age.
She's not 24. She's 23.
Her brain is not fully developed.
And that's because of her heavy ecstasy use in high school.
And because you hit her in the head with a hammer on a nightly basis.
It's a frying pan, and that's only when she screws up my salads.
Okay.
And she cooks me a nice steak-based salad, not vegan, in the afternoons. I like it. BBWs, sometimes I do jerk off to the women I described. Big, black, beautiful women.
That's not
with
what
a big set of cans.
You threw in an extra B.
I threw in another letter. All right, BBB.
BBB.
I did. Okay, I'm going to come clean right now. I jetted out early. I wasn't going to go at all. I think on last week's episode, I was saying I wasn't going to go out there.
Right.
But I realized, hey, this is a pretty special opportunity. Because while most people were relegated to the main floor of the AVN convention, they had to get in line like cattle to meet their favorite porn star. Imagine I didn't see any of the autograph photo opportunity sessions taking place. But how creeped out must these girls have been, the Riley Reids, the Angela Whites, to meet men, 100% of whom masturbate to them regularly?
I don't think they mind.
Isn't that weird, though?
No, but those are the people who pay their bills.
They pay their bills, but isn't that any one of those people is going to pull a gun and commit a murder-suicide?
I don't think you can get a gun in there. There's metal detectors on the outside.
Oh, come on, dude. There's always cracks in security.
This has never happened. Nobody's ever killed a porn star at a porn convention.
It's bound to happen.
It may be bound to happen. No, but that's why they check for guns on the way in. Is because they probably assume that this is the kind of thing somebody might do. Anyway,
I wouldn't feel comfortable.
I'll put it like this, just to give you the mentality of the true consummate professional in this business, because we had a dinner with Angela White one night, and
it's my girl.
Yeah, and she's about as professional as anybody who's ever been in this line of work, and she'll do like a 4 or 5 hour autograph signing before while she's at the convention. And I seen some good sized lines. Her line was by far, of every single person there, by far the longest line, like absurdly long. She said that a nice chunk of people who are in her line go to every porn convention and are in line every day that she's signing. So, like, when you're doing like a meet and greet, I don't know if you've ever done this, but you're very heavily incentivized when you have a line of 100 people that are doing the meet and greet. You're very highly incentivized to like shake their hand, say hi, have like a 30-second conversation with them, take the picture, and get it over with because you're looking at the next 100 people like kind of overwhelming. Like, oh, fuck, am I going to get out of here at 1 a.m. if I actually have like a 5-minute interaction with each person? And then also you have the venue breathing down your neck because in their head, they have a certain amount of time that this can last. So, I mean, that's for like podcast meet and greets, but I mean, Angela White has fans on that level who every day want to wait in line for hours and hours and hours just to get a couple minutes, maybe a minute. I don't know how long, but she feels the need to actually give them some substantial communication because these are people who fly all over the fucking world to be in her graces and presumably spend all kinds of money on her content or whatever.
And one of them's going to kill her one day.
I hope not, but
I hope not too.
That's why. But no, she says security'd up.
Security'd up.
When we were marching around with her, oh my God, she's got the real like. So how did that look from your perspective when we're walking up, me, my little squad of chicks, and then do we look cool with the security, like, or do we look kind of lame? I just need your personal opinion.
You looked cool at first, and then I saw Bossa Nova, so minus points. But also, you had N-word McGee, aka Hurley, the most racist employee at No Jumper.
So I was not true.
I was like, right away, this squad is sort of whack because of Bossa Nova and problematic because of N-word McGee.
Damn.
But you guys did look cool overall. And you came in to the Vixen thing. And I was, again, so thankful to not be part of the herd that was out there.
Long line. Because when we went there was while Riley Reid was doing her signing. So the line was out the fucking wazoo.
But I get in there. And first of all, the security at the Vixen place was eyeing me down the whole time.
The security at the Vixen place was 100% No Jumper fans. Every single person was hyped as fuck that I was showing up.
Well,
I was so stoked.
They didn't like the guy in the fake ostrich cowboy boots and the fur jacket.
Yeah, apparently they don't watch Sledgelords.
Pussies.
Yeah.
It's the best podcast on the planet.
Okay.
The coolest podcast?
No,
what do we call it?
We can't just do that for both podcasts.
I say we just take it. I say we switch it up.
Oh, what's up, Danny?
Why are you next to me on the couch?
I just get, attracted to sexy men and want to sit next to them.
You have your left ear pierced. That's the gay ear.
It is?
Listen, people. Yeah. Go rethink that. Let that hole grow over, lest you get raped up the ass. Listen, people, for fans of stand-up comedy, and that should be all of you if you guys are listening to this podcast, Andrew Santino, friend of the show, has released a new special that is live on Netflix.
Live.
Available for your viewing. It's called Cheeseburger.
Great title.
Love them? You love them when it comes to food? You love him even more when it comes to stand-up comedy. This is Andrew Santino, who's made waves in the comedy community with his podcast, Bad Friends, Whiskey Ginger, dominant, huge podcast. FX's Dave, and also he's a regular at the Comedy Store.
Big cock, I heard.
Headliner, giant phallus, giant phallus. There are all sorts of things the people have to do backstage to him at the Comedy Store in order to get him out
like
there.
a fluffer position.
They got to drain him. Otherwise, that massive snake between his legs is going to be hunting for prey, all set, if you know what I mean. And girls in the front row, be careful. Wear a rain slicker. Absolutely. Hey, you and I got some good chemistry up here.
Thank you, buddy.
Listen, Andrew Santino. It's Netflix's Cheeseburger, in which he covers topics ranging from how this generation lacks the gumption to assassinate the sitting president to global warming.
Right.
You know what the word gumption means?
Balls?
Sort of. I looked it up just for you, though, because I knew
thank you.
you're uneducated.
I'm
ass woman.
retarded, yeah.
It's shrewd or spirited initiative and resourcefulness.
Okay.
Shrewd.
Shrewd.
I like that word. Yeah, so basically balls.
Add that to the
words.
vocab.
Listen, guys, this is one of the best specials to come out on Netflix in a long time. And Netflix, we all know, is one of the last bastions of good comedy. They got some balls. They will still put out comedians who are saying unpopular stuff.
Dave Chappelle's on there.
Absolutely.
We love him.
This isn't some white bread, PC, focus group tested special. We support it. So what are you waiting for? Go to Netflix right now. Search up Andrew Santino Cheeseburger. It'll probably be on your homepage if you're a comedy fan, though. Check it out. It's Sledgelords and our keyboard jockey bitch endorsed.
That's me. Keyboard jockey bitch.
Jockey bitch.
Jockey bitch.
You're fired.
Okay.
We go out into the patio. We go out onto the patio, and that was like the VIP booth within the VIP booth. I was loving it out there because I was hanging out with Jordan Love.
Jason
Love. Did I call him Jordan Love? He made such a big impact on my life. I can't even remember his first name.
It's okay.
Jason Love.
You got the last name.
He's a blacked porn star.
Yep. The face of blacked.
Can't believe that. You think of those guys as, and it's sort of part of blacked, I think, to just turn these guys into brutes, to dehumanize them and just show images of them ravaging pretty young white college women.
I mean, he's a big guy, so he's got that brute factor either way. But personality-wise, he's not. Doesn't seem terribly brutish. He's
he was a gentleman.
Very nice guy.
He was awesome. And he told me stories.
He's looking up brute right now. He's like, what the fuck is that? Is brute common? I don't know.
I just don't want him to get brutal on me for calling him Jordan Love. He told me stories when he was in Vegas, when he was a male stripper, that big fat women from the Midwest, real BBWs, they would pay him $500 to suck his dick in the male strip club. Wow. Because he's a fantasy.
Life is good.
Big black man with a 12-inch penis.
Right.
I stood next to that guy. That might have been the highlight of the whole thing for me. And there were highlights.
All kinds of famous porn stars around, and you're just hyped to be standing next to a guy with a big dick.
Yeah. I was fucking psyched, dude.
All right.
And nobody's going to see this. I don't think we caught it on camera. But he and Kazumi asked to see my dick picture.
Ooh.
I showed it to them both. Mr. Love was very, you wonder sometimes, a guy that big, if he's going to get homophobic and you're going to try something like that. Like, hey, man, you mind evaluating my potential place in the industry? Man, what the fuck you showing me? Psh! You kind of worry about stuff like that.
But he had a good attitude about it?
He was like, "Oh yeah, I think there's something for you in porn. Yeah, you could get into you could get into that cuck shit."
That's what he said. That's amazing.
It's the best, dude.
Wow.
So, yes, you guys have that to look forward to.
Oh my god.
I might be
hilarious.
wearing a dog collar and looking on sadly as Jason Love has sex with a woman,
Right.
posing as my wife.
But you wouldn't let him bang your girl while you were tied up in the corner?
What kind of question is that?
I don't know. So
I turn it back on you.
He
my
said
friend.
the cuck thing, and you didn't seem that against it.
I thought it was hilarious, but you just he made it as a joke, and you just asked me as if I would seriously consider it.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to find out where
Why
you
don't
were
we
at.
fly him out to Italy for your wedding? Yeah, he can help you consummate the relationship, the marriage.
At the wedding. Getting cucked at the wedding is tight.
Yeah, it's on Brad. You're a wild guy.
Not that wild.
Yeah, me either.
I'm going to break down the schedule for you so I can explain why I had intercourse one time in the entire 6 days that I was there.
Who with?
My fiance.
Okay.
Very brief.
Nobody else popped in?
No. I just want to break this down for you because my first time ever going to the porn convention, I thought that it was going to be a sex fest, that we were going to be having threesomes every night, meeting all these girls, everybody's going to want to shoot content, yada, yada. And it didn't happen. Well, actually, the first time I went to the Porn Awards, we did end up having a fucking a fan threesome. Now she was a creator, but she's like a actual OnlyFans girl, but she kind of had fan vibes. But we ended up banging some fan last time. And
Last year?
5 years ago, the last time I went.
Okay.
But then this time, yeah, none. So I'm gonna break down the schedule for you. So you wake up a bit later in the day because you're up late for us. I'm used to getting up at 6:30 in the morning, right? So I'm getting up more like 8, 9, whatever. By noon, the girls are in hair and makeup. By 3 o'clock, you're on the way to the convention. You're at the convention for like 3 to 7. Then we would have a dinner to go to at like, 8:45, 9 most nights. Then we have to go to an after party. So we're getting done at like 2 in the morning, which to me, as a person who wakes up at 6:30, means that every night when I was out late, people would be coming up to me and asking me if I was all right because I would look angry. We were in the strip club at 2 in the morning.
That's where the after party is.
Well, one night, and my fucking eyes were just like literally like kind of shutting.
Were you
while I'm
drinking?
there. No, but I have, not that night, but I have a good drinking tale for you as well. Because I think it was, okay, so it was that night that I met up with you, right? Or it was the day that we were together, and then afterwards
I was busy that night.
I hear. We go out to dinner. Me, the girls, Sharp came, Mike Malak,
Yeah.
and that was it. So we're all at dinner, and I order one mixed drink. I'm starting to feel drunk just thinking about this. I ordered this drink. I didn't think that it was going to be like super strong or anything, but I drank one, and then I said, fuck it, I'll have another one. I order another one. I drink maybe like half of it, whatever. And then they bring out like a round of this like weird like coffee style shot for everybody. And I drank that as well. And I never drank. Like literally I've almost not been drunk for 4 years. and then we go out to an after party after that. And
You cheat on your fiance.
No, I was with her the whole time. And then I proceeded to have one more drink. So
Wow.
in total, I had basically the equivalent of like 3 drinks. And so I went around the casino that whole night just telling people, I'm blackout drunk, just announcing it to everyone, even though I wasn't. I was just like tipsy. And, you'd be amazed the way that people just really act differently to you once they think that you're blackout drunk. And I was telling everybody I was blackout drunk, even though I was actually like 2 drinks in.
Why do you think that is? Why is that?
Why? Because when you basically tell people that like you are in a state where you're not going to remember anything that you're doing, but
You can tell people how you really feel about
you're
them.
not responsible for your behavior. You're capable of anything. Everybody starts acting way different to you. And Mike Malak got in on the joke, and he realized that I wasn't actually drunk, so he thought it was really funny. But like a lot of these people, I was like really telling them I was blackout drunk, and they were kind of just going for it. And so I was just like out here having this fun social experiment.
Were
But
any of
then
them talking shit on you? Like once you said you were blacked out drunk, are people like, oh, you're a piece of shit. That scar above your eye is never going to go away.
no, everybody just actually seemed kind of like amazed that I was drunk or saying I was drunk.
Okay.
But then
I
the
would've
next
talked
day,
shit.
I wake up and I fucking puke my guts out.
Off
Even
3
though
drinks?
I didn't really like feel that drunk. Yeah, but my girl's been sick ever since too. And I guess a few other people who were at the dinner got sick. So I actually think that there might have been something with the fish that night that got us all sick. I think it might not have been the alcohol.
Let's go through some theories here.
Yeah.
Fish is number 1, food poisoning.
Kind of hot in here, don't you think?
Number 2, yeah, the heat is excessive. Number 2 is that you were dehydrated. Number 3 is power of suggestion. You just talked yourself into being really drunk. The mind, it's a very impressive
I
instrument.
don't think I'm going to be able to like think I'm so drunk that I'm going to puke.
Number 4.
And I've never really felt that drunk. So that's why this puking was so out of the ordinary for me. And I've never done this in my whole life. I've drank and puked, but it's always like I drink and then I puke while I'm still drunk that night. Waking up the next morning and puking is very out of the ordinary for me.
You know what I think it is? I think God is punishing you for your sinful lifestyle.
That's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
It all
Although
came to a head.
It didn't feel that sinful while I was out there. It actually felt very tame.
We were at the Porn Awards.
I'm taking my fucking sweatshirt off.
This Sodom and Gomorrah.
I'm burning up.
While you're taking that off, before you came there, I was just awkwardly bouncing around, aware that the party hadn't really started yet.
Yeah, and I felt bad thinking about that. I'm like, dude, Danny's just sitting on a bench in there with Nico, fucking him in the ass, waiting for me.
Whenever I get a spare moment, it's going right up Nico's tight little asshole. I saw a lot of couples going around, and I don't know if it says something about my own insecurity that I have never watched porn with my girlfriend, and I don't really plan on doing it.
Yeah, you realize that when you're at that shit, that there are a lot of couples, and in a lot of cases, the guy is such a porn fan that to him, a fantasy would be one of the porn guys fucking his girl. And
You've met those guys.
I've definitely met this over and over and over, where the guy is almost like offering his chick up. And it can be weird too, because sometimes the girls are like really hot and you actually are like, you could like be a porn star. Like you don't have to be like walking around this convention sort of like pretending that this is an opportunity, like you could actually do this. And then sometimes the girl's like clearly like not attractive, but the guy's like, they're both like porn fans together, which I get because I was never really like a porn fan like that, but somehow like being in the industry has kind of got me to that point of just like knowing all these chicks' names and stuff. And now when I think about being a civilian, I could totally understand why it would be a fun experience to go to this sort of thing with your girl. You get to meet all these porn stars you're attracted to, whatever. I totally get it.
Get Danny D to throw that fucking boa constrictor up your wife's twat.
Dude, I saw Danny D, who now we talk about every week on this podcast, and he was like the first person I saw when I got there. And I just wanted to say so bad, like, oh, dude, like we found out that you get fucked in the ass live on the podcast.
To be fair,
week.
I've only seen him fucking another guy.
Yeah, whatever. I think that when I Googled it, though, I saw it the other way. I think. Super nice guy, though.
Despite getting fucked in the ass.
Oh, and
usually those guys are assholes.
I did get him on camera. I just haven't put it out yet.
I saw it. I saw the clip.
I don't even know if they edited it, but I was talking to him about his giant cock. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of porn stars like Danny D getting roped in by couples at the convention, I want to talk about this a little bit because, again, I don't know if this comes back to my own insecurities, but the whole cucking thing, that seems to be what this is. It's guys who are into cucking, and who better to cuck you than your favorite porn star.
Okay,
Male
but
porn star.
that's a little. There's a little bit of that with the couples, but the average person who goes to this is just a dude who wants to like meet porn stars, look at them, shake hands. Like dudes are really horny, and you realize that to them, if they're capturing the action on their phone, that means a lot to them. So dudes will go up to Sky Bree and say, "Sky, can I get a picture with you?" They take a picture together, and then they take their phone and they're like, "Can you like bend over or like hit this like certain butt shot that they want her to take?" Now, I promise you that if they were to look at her Instagram, they would be able to see a photo that looks better than this photo that they just took. Or if they were to go to her OnlyFans, they would be able to see her literally getting dicks shoved in her fucking mouth and ass. Not ass, actually. Yeah, vagina. But either way, it's like they want to be the one taking the photo.
Yeah.
You know? And even like my girl told me that there were dudes who came through the line every day that she was there to take a photo. They want every different outfit that she wore all week. And I think that they get like a big thrill out of that, like 2 seconds that they have their arm around her.
You know, I think.
And for me, I'm just kind of trying to ignore how pervy some of these dudes are towards her because like the security's like watching over her. So I'm trying to like not look because I just don't even want to like think about the fact that she's got like a sweaty dude armpit on her.
Who's been there the last 4 days taking photos. I'm thinking next year, it probably wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
You're going to holler at Jordan Love to cuck you at the convention? Yeah, I love how uncomfortable you even are with the suggestion of it.
I'm going to get to cucking.
He's not into
But what I think is maybe we get all the porn star women safely out and Danny D, he can live. And then I think we just barricade all the exits and entrances and we burn down the porn awards. It might be a plus for society.
That could be you and Sneeko's new video.
Is that one of his things too? Was he anti-porn?
Well, all these like
the right-wingers are super
all
anti-porn.
the red pill dudes now hate porn for some reason. This has like
know.
become part of the ideology.
That wasn't a thing. When I was in college, being a masculine dude was all about jerking off to porn, and that was like your way to get your head straight before a fuck date that night.
Right.
It was part of being a tough,
And
cool
I still
guy.
think it's bullshit because the average Republican is still probably beaten off just as much, maybe more than the average Democrat. It's
And
like
it's the gay
a fringe wing of people who are so right that they've decided that they hate everything that the left does.
Yeah.
And since the left is pro-sex worker more often than not, they have to therefore hate OnlyFans girls and stuff. Or at least it makes for good content online.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing about TikTok and YouTube and making content in general is that to not take a position is boring.
Yeah.
You have to take strong positions on everything or else there's nothing to make content about. And so that's why you have this sort of like media landscape where everybody is sort of purposely misunderstanding each other in order to make content. And that's why there's some people who make videos about me, and I see them make videos all the fucking time with my name in the title, but I never bother to click it. And then recently it was the title was so crazy, I just had to click it. And I watched like 3 or 4 minutes of a 12-minute video, and I'm just listening to somebody. Oh, you know what they're tearing us up about was the conversation we had where you said, "Oh, people in SAC are pussies."
People in SAC are pussies.
And then you were like, "Am I going to get killed by somebody from SAC?" And I said, "Most likely no. But if you said Lil so-and-so from SAC is a pussy, then Lil so-and-so might pay you a visit." Which to me sounds like an unbelievably obvious statement. If you disrespect somebody specifically, you're probably going to, earn their attention. If you disrespect an entire city, whatever, then it's pretty unlikely that's going to happen. But I was just watching somebody make a video where they're tearing me apart for a bunch of shit that I did not say in the context of that conversation. And I'm like, this is the whole thing online now, is that people just make videos where they just imagine that somebody said something that they didn't really say, because if you actually give people the benefit of the doubt, it's kind of hard to make content out of attacking them because most people are being sort of reasonable most of the time.
I can't believe that guy had an issue with that conversation. I don't even see what stance he's taking. Was he denying that a little Smokey or whoever would come and kill me if I insulted him?
The essential gist of it was like, Adam 22 is, look at him claiming to know how the streets work. You're not from the streets. You don't know anything about the streets. Nowhere in that conversation was I really implying that I have any particular knowledge about how the streets work. I was just making a fairly obvious statement.
That's actually something I've been wanting to talk to you about on this podcast from now on when we're talking about the streets. Leave it to me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm the fucking street guy.
I also feel like I actually know a lot about the streets, realistically.
Not as much as me.
I may not have been born in it, but
I know what you're talking about, though, where Ben Shapiro will clip Biden saying something.
Right.
And he mentions the word sexual education. And then before the sentence is finished, the clip cuts out and Ben Shapiro goes on a 15-minute rant.
Right.
See, this is the decline of Western civilization. Right here, what Joe Biden is doing is he's essentially saying that he wants furries and all sorts of sexual degenerates in the first grade classroom with your child, teaching them about the pros and cons of anal sex. Did I say the cons? Only the pros. That's how the left feels. They are glorifying sodomy. Okay? That's how it goes.
Yeah.
They turn everything into something gigantic.
And the reason I was watching, I've been watching a lot of More Plates, More Dates, the fitness channel. This dude, the guy who exposed Liver King. And
Is Liver King done? I've been hearing a lot of negative stuff.
well, he claims he's natty now.
Now? I thought he always claimed that.
Well, yeah, he claimed it. Then he got exposed. Then he admitted that he was on all kinds of steroids and shit. And then now he claims that he's off it. And from my eyes view, he looks like he is shrinking at a pretty rapid rate. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but he's claimed to be natural for like a week. And to me, it looks like he is deflating quite quickly. And I'm wondering what impact this is having on his brain and exactly how much shit he must have been on in the first place to give him this sort of like massive red look.
What would be your equivalent to lying about being natting? Like if you had like a paper mache cock built up around your penis and you've been doing porn with a fake dick this whole time.
Well, no, but if I went and got that surgery where they actually pull your dick out of your body more.
Yeah.
Which I kind of am down for, to be honest.
Or they shot it full of the fat. One of the guys who was out there on the VIP booth with us, I have it on good faith that he has a fake dick.
How do you know? He told you?
Yeah, one of the girls when we did that porn video for YouTube, she was an Asian chick we ran into right before King Croc and I went into the STD testing center.
Okay.
She said Riley from Hussey, I think, is his name. And I looked that guy up, and he was one of the dudes who was out on the patio. And I almost interviewed him about his fake cock, but I realized that might get me thrown out of the VIP if he had any pull of security.
I would love to speak to a male porn star. I don't know who you're speaking about exactly. I have no idea about this allegation, but I would love to speak to a male porn star who is willing to be honest about that, because I want to know what it's like, because I've heard so much about it, but I don't think any of these guys are actually copping to it.
I don't think most guys in porn have fake cocks, because the fake cock, it just adds a little bit of girth to it. And like you said, getting it extended adds 1 inch.
But that's a crazy ass surgery. I think that what's really common is them just putting this like goop or this like silicone crap in there.
Yeah, the filler.
Yeah.
I say if we want to learn more about it, we get one of the young coffee gophers, somebody who just brought in your Starbucks there.
That's what you're calling Josh now?
Well, it was... Usually it's not somebody like Josh. Usually it's Trevor.
Coffee
That's the guy who
gopher.
has a fake cock right there. Michael, thank you so much for showing us that picture of Riley from Hussey. That's the guy right there, if you want to take a look at him. But
hey, can I tell you something?
I say, Michael, we get the surgery done on you, buddy. What's going on?
He's a good looking guy.
That's exaggerated.
Let me just tell you this.
Okay.
If you ever doubted the seriousness of Bossa Nova's celibate oath, just know that I saw a porn star make an overt attempt at getting him to go home with her.
Which porn star?
I will not say. But
This was at the after party.
no comment.
This was at the dinner.
Bossa Nova he has real heart. He's got skin in the game, bro. He is not fucking.
A hot porn star.
Very.
Big tits? Adam is nodding.
I'm nodding on a podcast. So
Did
if you're
Angela
listening,
White, are you saying right now that Angela White, the big titty goddess,
not
who
saying
loves
Angela
her
White.
fans more than anybody, cornered Bossa Nova, maybe even grabbed his penis,
I
grabbed
believe
that Bossa Nova Filipino penis, and tried to take him back to her room at the Trump?
he wasn't going.
We gotta have a talk with this kid.
He's got heart.
I don't care if he has $2,500 down on a condo in Sacramento. I don't care if he spent more
gotta
than that
fuck.
on his headphones from the Mac store. Bossa Nova can no longer turn down porn stars. And you know what? He should be fired based on doing it once.
I'm proud of him. He went to the porn convention and he wasn't tempted.
He's going to regret that. Because here's what's going to happen. He's going to get married, and then 20 years into his marriage, he's going to snap because monogamy is going to become far too much. His wife's going to put on weight. She's going to become old and bitter and naggy. Like, oh, Bossa Nova, why do you always leave the Ziploc bags in this compartment? And then he's just going to one day be like, I should have fucked Angela White's mouth when I had the shot.
Not Angela White. But I will say this. That's why I had such a hard time turning down pussy my whole life.
For fear of regret.
In the back of my head, I was thinking, you are going to regret this when you're 40 years old. And I could now say, as a man who's nearly 40, that I was right. That I regret every girl I didn't sleep with my whole life.
And isn't it true that when you think back, no matter how degenerate, no matter what you had to do on Monday, you never regret those nights on Saturday or Sunday where you went out till 5 a.m. snorting coke, doing ecstasy, banging a chick as the sun rose.
Absolutely.
You never
I
regret
regretted
those. Do
then
you?
and now. Yeah.
You still regret those?
Well, I mean, I'm glad I had those experiences, but then
So
at
you
the
don't
same
regret
time, like, I would never want to live like that now. And I don't think doing drugs till 5 in the morning is worth it, even though I had some great times.
I don't regret any of those nights.
It's all too blurry anyway. I don't remember enough of it.
Yeah, but I'm glad it happened. A, so I can dissuade people to continue doing those sorts of things.
Right.
And B, because, sometimes I go through the old mental filing cabinet and jerk off to one of those memories.
That's real. The Airbnb we stayed at, there was a camera in Sky Bree's bedroom pointed directly at the bed.
She should have fucked Bossa Nova on it.
That would have been great. But all I'm saying is that, isn't that a little weird? Like, is that normal that Airbnbs just have that? Because our room, the master bedroom, did not have a camera pointed at the bed. But for some reason, hers did.
Yeah, the Circus room we stayed in did have a camera, and it did capture me fucking Nico's little asshole, like you alluded to.
Right.
Airbnb, you assume, you hear about that, and it's easy to be like, oh, they don't check the tape. That's just purely for the owner's liability and safety. I read an article on Airbnb. Dude, they have an entire... I don't know how their business is doing, by the way. It seems like there are fewer and fewer Airbnbs available every time I search for them.
Really?
It seems like they're going down. They kind of suck. They charge these huge cleaning fees and service fees. I'd rather stay at the fucking Marriott, to be honest. But I read an article on them. They have a big secret task force employed at Airbnb whose whole job is to console and compensate traumatized Airbnb patrons who do things like come back coked up and drunk at 5 a.m. from the porn awards with a guy, have sex with them, only to look up and see a blinking dot on a camera in the corner of the room. Or even worse...
The cameras in the bedrooms are this big of a problem?
Absolutely. There have been worse cases. There have been cases where guys who rented out an Airbnb were in the closet for the entire weekend jerking off while looking out a slat as a wedding party was staying in the place.
Wow.
It's bad.
Because, okay, if I have an Airbnb and I have cameras set up all over the house and it's not illegal for me to do so, it's like, who is auditing my personal use of that footage? Now, if I take that footage and I put it on Pornhub, yeah, all right, now I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you just have like a fucking hard drive with all this footage, nobody's ever going to be able to get you to turn it over, right?
And think about how easy it would be to conceal a camera.
Oh, yeah, if you didn't want them to see it, it would be super easy. They make tiny-ass cameras now. You could burrow it into the fucking wall, whatever. You could make it so that nobody would ever know.
Pull a Wolf of Wall Street, put it in a teddy bear's eye.
And the only thing you're not allowed to do is have the cameras in the bathroom, like pointed at the toilet or whatever. But I mean,
and again, if we made it ourselves, how would anybody fucking know?
If you hide it good enough, nobody's ever gonna know.
Yeah,
you could put a fucking camera right in that toilet so you could see the piss gushing out of the vagina.
My dad had a case once where a dude was busted for going down into a porta potty tank with waiters and taking pictures of chicks' hoo-hoos while they were pissing.
Really?
That guy probably owns an Airbnb now.
Wow.
Think about it, dude.
There was a private school down the street. Like my schooling environment was like there was the normal high schools, or this is junior high, normal junior highs, which I went to one of the 3 normal junior highs, and then there was like one private junior high. So we always like looked at the kids who went to this like private school just like, well, like they're weird or something.
They
like,
had hotter chicks though, I bet. Yeah, they did, dude.
Maybe
yeah, they come for better breeding. That's how it works.
Yeah, parents had more money on average.
Eugenics,
probably
dude.
Does make sense. Yeah, but it was all white girls, and I'm in school thinking all the Spanish girls are hot as fuck.
You had a Spanish phase.
Tons of Puerto Rican girls in my school.
Wow.
Hot as fuck.
I already told you I like BBBWs.
I'd probably think they were disgusting if I saw them now, but I thought they were hot at the time. But either way, one of my friends, good friend, one of my best friends went to this school. And, we're like 16 and it comes out in the news that basically like he's a social studies teacher and he would have the kids do these like reenactments of historical events and they would have to go into the closet in this dude's classroom and change their clothes. And he's doing this for like 10 years. And then eventually the cops fucking, I don't know if a kid noticed the camera or reported it or whatever, but after that, like, you know, they found out that he had been recording all of these kids taking their clothes off for like 10 fucking years. And my friend went to the school, and, you know, you would think that to some extent you might want to be cool about it, given that this teacher was apparently jerking off to his naked body. Mm-hmm. We weren't. We really made fun of him like really hard, and also drew the conclusion that he was probably also getting molested by this teacher.
Yeah, and he was sort of into it too, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we went into great detail about this. Yeah,
were there chants? Were you mocking him like?
I don't know if we chanted.
You got molested.
Yeah.
You got molested.
It was probably something like that, realistically. Yeah.
Isn't it nice to just be a heterosexual guy attracted to adult women who, when you're really feeling your perviest, all it takes is a trip to a porn site, a handful of Jergens, and it's over.
Right.
Like, imagine going to all that trouble, and you know there's no room to advance your career, to have a loving family, to do anything when you're focused on rigging up an infrared camera in your 7th grade closet. Like, that's that guy's fucking life.
I would love to just hear him, like, now that he's probably had like 20 years to reflect on it. And I wonder if he was just shunned from life. Like, what is that guy doing now? Like, what kind of jobs are available to you? Definitely not in education.
My theory is that's what the state of Montana is for disgraced pedophiles to move to. You just go to the middle of the country and you work at, the video stores used to be.
No, but that was a great revelation for me when I realized that downtown, some of those hotels, do you watch the Cecil Hotel documentary?
Yeah, the chick got put in the water tank.
Right, but that hotel, so like I lived like fucking 4 or 5 blocks from that shit when I lived downtown, and then I found out that the real purpose of a lot of those hotels is that all the fucking sex offenders live there because they kind of can't live almost anywhere else.
Is there a background check when you're renting rooms? Is that what it is?
I think that I wonder if they do a background check, but apparently it's a very, very loose background check because apparently it's like the place you can stay at. Even
the
if
Cecil, yeah.
But or all those hotels there.
When you rent an apartment,
maybe because it's not like a long-term thing. Like you're essentially renting it by the week or the month. So maybe they don't have to do the same kind of background checks. But I'm not sure. I feel like, when you go to get an apartment, I'm pretty sure that they run the background check and that the sex offender thing pops up.
That's what meganslaw.com's for.
Is it?
Yeah, you can see a map of your neighborhood and see which house, like,
I've heard about
1824, that's definitely a pedophile over there. Keep it, little Billy, stay away from that.
I live in a nice area. I hope there's not any around
There's
there.
probably more there. I think one of the big wigs at Nickelodeon's your next door neighbor, and he's
Dan Snyder?
a 10-year-old. Yeah, Dan Snyder. He's got the big footprint is in his living room. There's
that
a
would
big
be
portrait
disturbing.
shrine of it.
It's gonna really like fuck up my morning walk when I'm just like looking at the pedophile houses.
Mm-hmm. There's
but also
in
like
his Escalade, there's like a 10-year-old girl's footprints up
hanging out
on the dashboard.
Yo, but I just don't understand. Like I thought it's hard to like get a spot if you're a sex offender, right? Like to get a house. But is anyone gonna stop you from buying a house, or is it just a renting thing?
I mean, you got to think. Buying a house in Los Angeles is going to cost you at least 750,000 bones.
Right.
As we established, when you're a pedophile, that tends to be more important to your identity than advancing your career. Who are pedophiles? What are the ultimate pedophile jobs? Dan Snyder aside, assistant football coach, shop teacher, Boy Scout master.
But do you think that those
pay $30,000 a year at most?
Are those jobs where you just sort of like, do you think that those people become pedophiles because they have those jobs and they're exposed to this so much? Or do you think that they go into those lines of work because they're attracted to young kids?
It's a classic chicken and egg argument.
I really have no idea.
I think they go into those jobs because they're attracted to children. Again, dude, when you're a pedophile, your sun rises and sets to fuck little boys. So you got to think about, where am I going to be closer to them?
Well, but do you know that? Like, do you think that for the average pedophile that this is like their primary focus? Or do you think that some of them are just kind of here and there? I don't know.
For the sake of creating online content, as we accuse people of being like too sure of their opinions and having a hard take, I'm saying that this is their big thing. It's their thing, dude. They're content to be a shop teacher, and they know they're going to get caught. They know eventually something's going to go wrong, and they're going to have to move into the Cecil and be a janitor working for cash.
This is the thing that I think is scary about it, though, is that from what I've heard, I'm pretty sure that for every one dude who actually molests a kid, that there's like 100 who are jerking off to it on the dark web or whatever. That the number of people who are into that is insane. And have you heard of Mastodon?
The band?
No.
They're all
That's good,
pedophiles.
though.
It's music for and by pedophiles.
No. Mastodon
children.
is basically like Twitter, but it's like decentralized, right? So it's kind of like Bitcoin. And this is like a lot of journalists and shit are claiming that they're going to find their way to Mastodon as basically their way of like getting off of Twitter because Twitter seems kind of unstable or whatever. And in a perfect world, Mastodon would be kind of like a pure free speech opportunity in a way because it's decentralized. So they basically like don't have a way to remove offensive content from it. And so apparently there's like a massive influx of Japanese child porn fans on this service that all these journalists on Twitter, all these super hardcore leftist, progressive, whatever, they're all encouraging people to go on this Mastodon site. And I read this fucking article the other day that's saying that like half the traffic on the fucking site is like child porn servers. And that because it's decentralized, they basically have no way to get rid of it. And then also, so basically, like, there's a search function, right? And you have to, like, know the exact name of the servers that you're trying to join, right? And they basically, like, got rid of the search function because it would make it, like, too easy for people to realize that they're sharing this service with people who are looking at child porn on it. So that's scary to me because, how could these journalists defend using it if there's so many people using it for this thing? Like, doesn't that alone tell you like this service is not something that the world needs? I don't think we need decentralized social media. I think we actually need people monitoring it and deleting bad things.
I saw Mike over there typing furiously as you were talking about Mastodon. What do you got on your screen?
He's doing the Twitch, the Twitter.
Fuck. I'm going to go to prison for even looking at that.
Stop breaking the fourth wall. Focus on the conversation.
I agree. There's got to be some sort of moderation.
Right. Because that is what you're encouraging. When you talk about you want like a pure free speech environment, you're saying you want child porn Mastodon servers.
Basically. Yeah. Anybody who said that before is a pedophile. I wonder, though, this is... pedophiles, you hear a lot, or I used to hear it on Loveline with Dr. Drew, that you're not born a pedophile. It's usually a cycle of abuse that happens when you get abused. Somehow, that's not funny. Why are you laughing? I'll stop breaking the fourth wall. Like when you get abused, it rewires your brain and makes you want to repeat your trauma, or you want to pass it on to the next generation. Then you abuse a child. That tends to be how it works. And it's sort of like, I bet a lot of people have the same curiosity about gay people. Like, are gay people born gay or made gay? And you probably have this experience too, I've known enough gay people that they've told me, dude, I knew I was gay from the time that you knew you were straight.
Right.
When you were pulling a girl's pigtails in preschool, I was reaching for a guy's cock on the slide. Same thing. But I wonder, I don't know any fucking pedophiles, at least that have come other than you. I don't know any pedophiles. So like I would, it'd be interesting through a bulletproof glass window to have a conversation like, dude, how did this happen? Were you born a pedophile or made a pedophile?
Because I think that's like assuming that like people who get molested then go on to abuse people, that seems obvious. Like that's very easy for all of us to imagine. But there's got to be some percentage of people who get into it or are like that didn't have the childhood trauma and they just have some kind of like brain like malfunction at some point that kind of makes that happen, right? Like I don't know how exactly that works. And on Soft White Underbelly, multiple different times I've clicked on videos that are like Chad, sex offender. And it's like 1 million views, super old, creepy looking dude or whatever. And I click on it because I'm trying to I'm actually curious, like how did this guy end up like this or whatever. And I've clicked on like 3 or 4 of these videos and they always just have like a story about how they got framed for some shit. Like I haven't clicked on one where somebody was actually like, yeah, this is what I'm into. This is how I got that way. Because I would be interested in the same thing of like hearing people really talk about how they ended up like that.
Yeah, I watched one documentary on it a long, long time ago, and I remember one guy was super open about it, and he wanted to be castrated. He was voluntarily going to get his nuts cut off, so he'd be less attracted to children. And he didn't get into his origin story. He didn't let us know if he were molested, but it's fucked up. It would definitely suck to be born that way if that happened to you.
You know who I was thinking about was Marilyn Manson, because I read his biography at one point.
The Neil Strauss one?
Yeah.
It's good.
And he talked about how when he was a kid, he would go into his grandfather, he was raised by his grandparents, I believe. He would go into their a closet and raid his grandfather's porn stash. And there would be all these like super fucked up images of like, you know, dudes wearing women's clothes, which now is great. Now we know that that's awesome. But, you know, weird like abuse and bloodletting and all kinds of freaky shit. And this is like, you know, a long time ago, in like the 70s or whatever. So I'm sure that this seemed like some really creepy shit to him. Well, he's a kid, so either way it's going to seem creepy. But like then you look at Marilyn Manson and became like the weirdest, most out of the box fucking dude ever. And you wonder if like was looking at this weird porn at a young age in his grandfather's closet, was that alone enough to make him then go off on this whole career of like insane and alleged abuse as well, because he's got all kinds of crazy charges and shit. Like, was him just viewing it as a kid enough to like flip some kind of switch in his brain that just turned him into the weirdest fucking dude who ever lived?
I remember that.
But did he get molested too in the book? I don't even remember.
It's a little bit worse than what you're describing. He would go down there and be in the closet while his grandpa would turn on a toy train set that would circle his grandpa, and then his grandpa would jerk off to all sorts of fucked up shit with like a rope around his neck.
And he'd watch it?
Yeah, he was in the room.
I haven't read this book
he was
in a
in the
long
room.
time. I'm forgetting a lot of details.
I'm forgetting it too. The thing about Marilyn
now
Manson,
that I can understand. That's a lot weirder than just a couple of photos.
I like Marilyn Manson. Before all the accusations came out and shit, he would be on podcasts. I thought he was a very level-headed, interesting guy. Remember the rumors that would get spread about Marilyn Manson when we were kids, though? Like, he got a rib removed. Yeah. I heard somebody told me once that he went to the SPCA and he would get a box full of puppies for like a bargain price of $75. Take them on stage, douse them in gasoline, and just let the puppies burn.
See, that I don't believe. but I kind of remember hearing that in high school as well, and that really doesn't really pass the sniff test for me. Like, I just don't think that there would be, because you would always hear that. I would hear he cut his dick off on stage. Bro, back when I was
on stage?
Listen, back when I was in my Xan days, right? I remember I met some fucking other girl who was also a Xan head, and we were fucking hanging out, you know, hooking up, doing Xans. And she ended up being a former Marilyn Manson girl. Yeah. In the sense that she used to like kick it with him for a period of months or some shit. And she said that he would be doing so many drugs and that her and his other girls were not allowed to do drugs during the time period that they were around him because he wanted them to be so pure and everything. And so that was kind of weird that I'm like just in this fucking opiate daze, just fucking hanging out with this girl who's telling me all about her years spent around him.
It must have been gnarly. What is a Xanax? I've never asked this before. What does a Xanax do to you?
Very much, you'll be like, hey, bro. It makes you like the most dry. Well, it's an anti-anxiety medication. So picture all the anxiety you carry around with you all day of what am I going to do tomorrow? Did I fuck up when I had this conversation earlier? Like, what does my girlfriend think of me? What's going on with my career? All that gone. Your mind's like a fucking blank slate. Best drug. Kids, don't do it. But it's pretty good.
Damn. Because that feeling of zero anxiety, I achieve it maybe once a week. Sometimes I'll have a 2-hour window where I'm just taking in the beauty of the sunshine flickering through the trees in the afternoon.
Right.
You're like that on command, basically.
It's basically like just doing that to yourself. And the other thing, too, about it is that if you drink on it, it makes like a beer feels like 5 beers. Like it makes alcohol affect you so much more. So that's how I got into my nice little pattern that I had going where I'd be drinking and doing Xans back in the day.
Maybe you took a Xan at the porn awards when you threw up the next morning.
Absolutely
it
not.
amplified your 3 beers into 15.
God. You know the Xan hangover. It's very different. You're like Mr. Cool fucking dude right after that. It's fucking great. But I haven't done one in forever, so.
That's got to be, though, I mean, your anxieties are what keep you working hard and moving forward in life.
Exactly.
So,
and if you get on Xanax, that's why when I hear kids talking about doing Xanax in high school and shit, I'm like, oh my God, like you are fucked. You're going to end up homeless and living under a bridge because you fucking are doing this shit at this age. I can't think of anything worse. Even weed, I think, is like probably a huge mistake for kids in high school. I just think like you haven't accomplished anything in your life. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. The last thing you need is this drug that's going to like confuse you and make you lazy.
Smoking weed making you lazy. Some people still maintain that. I feel guilty when I smoke weed during the weeks. I usually give it to myself on the weekend.
I think it's probably a good idea for me to do it less during the day and more at night.
This is the first podcast I think we've ever done together where you didn't have a spliff lit up. So congratulations.
They're right in there.
Oh, they're right there.
Let me tell you about this. I want to tell you about this. So this is the first time I ever went to an event and did this sort of like man on the street type content, which, let me share my thoughts on it. It's insanely viral. Yeah. Now, it's viral for us. We have 1 one of our TikToks did 6 million views this week. Like the socials have been growing like crazy. The thing that even made me want to do it though is that there's a lot of girls in porn who are doing this shit and just going around with, we're doing it with like a real mic and stuff. They're just doing it with their phone and, doing these kind of videos, like talking to people and getting these interesting sound bites. That stuff is so good for TikTok and Instagram reels and shit. So this was my first time ever really doing it and first time ever going to an event with the stated intention of doing that kind of content. Now, we also shot a YouTube vlog during it, but we had the guys like editing the fucking TikToks and cranking that shit out like while we were doing it. It's kind of a weird feeling because when you go somewhere to make a YouTube video, you're kind of doing the math in your head. Maybe I make a couple $1,000 off this video. It makes sense. I could pay this guy who filmed it and this guy who edited it, and then I get some money left over, whatever. Like, I'm sure you feel essentially like that half the time when you're doing videos. But then you have your Patreon, you have other stuff. You might get a brand deal that also make it a better business investment, whatever. When I'm out here and I'm paying these dudes to make all these fucking TikToks and stuff, it's just for growth because you're not making any fucking money on it, at least now, because the shorts and the TikToks are going to be monetized in February. So that's going to be super interesting to see how that changes everything. But
still going to be, they're going to make a fraction of what a long video makes, though.
You could assume, but it's like, it might be great. It might be pretty good because, like, I don't know. It could be all right. But either way, it was a weird feeling to be out there and just making all this content with a focus solely on growth. After spending so many years going to these sort of events and making like YouTube videos, and instead I'm like just aiming to get these sort of like snappy 15-second exchanges because they go crazy on socials.
I saw you. You had the mic, the plug talk mic. You were interviewing. You had access to all the hottest porn stars out there.
Yeah,
Tiana Trump.
It worked pretty good though.
Yeah,
one of those has 3 million views. Like a lot of it's really working good. But then at the same time, you're playing the game because you're on TikTok and you're at a porn convention. So it's like we're trying to keep it as clean as possible, but also like the more extreme it is, the more likely it is to go viral. Yeah. But then also the more likely it is to get removed. So you're kind of playing that game of like trying to.
How many got removed?
Only one got permanently removed.
What happened in that one?
Honestly, it wasn't like any more offensive than any of the other ones. So
arbitrary
it's like,
TikTok
it's
censorship.
So arbitrary. And when like TikTok tells you this got removed, do you want to appeal it? You appeal it. A lot of times it gets reinstated within like 10 seconds. Like almost like not even enough time for a human being to have watched it. And who's watching it? I don't fucking know. Or did they like, does the AI take a second look at it? Or do they have some guy in Cuba who's fucking watching it who realistically it's going to be kind of like at his discretion if this video is offensive or not, right?
Yeah. And he might not even speak English or know what's offensive or not.
So I feel like he should speak English if he's going to be reviewing TikToks
I
in
agree,
English.
but I'm not sure they hold themselves to that standard. The man on the street content, though, that was what was new for you. Just going and doing interviews.
With the goal being to like make TikToks and shit out of it. But when you think about it, doing the man on the street shit with just a mic, it's pretty much the closest to what we're doing right now that you could do in real life. For years, people would make vlog type stuff. That doesn't really seem like good enough for TikTok sometimes because you can make the audio so much better by using the mic, But either way, it sort of made me realize like, oh, I could go and do this exact kind of content at almost any kind of like public event. And based on what I'm seeing here, it seems like it'll do incredibly well. Now, I'm not going to make any money from it, but I could like clearly probably run up millions of followers on TikTok and shit and basically like introduce myself to a way bigger audience and just have this like crazy number. If I got to 3 million TikTok followers, it's like people would talk about me when I wasn't around and say, oh yeah, you see Adam, he's killing it on TikTok. He's huge on TikTok now. But there's like, I wouldn't make any money from it, right? It's kind of weird. Like it would take a lot of fucking time. I should probably put that time into doing like podcasts, right? But then in terms of growth, it seems like it makes a ton of sense for me to go into that shit too. I don't know.
Do you see, how long does it take to see the money after something pops on TikTok? Do those people
there's no money.
But do they make their way over to the no jumper ecosystem?
I mean, that is the long-term hope, is that like the no jumper TikTok will, because when we post a video from an interview and it gets 5 million views, which doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, you would assume that podcast on YouTube gets a shitload of views from that. Now, I don't really know if that's the case. It might be more like 3 to 5% of people who watch the TikTok would even consider going and watching the clip on YouTube. But it's also like, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like at this point, I wish that I had been growing my TikTok for like many years before we actually got into it. And I feel lucky that we've actually been able to like build up a good sized following. But when it comes to like, if you're making social media your business, it's kind of like you just have to embrace every social media platform, even if it doesn't seem like it's making any money right now, but you can kind of see the vision in the long term. I don't know. It seems like a mistake to not embrace any social media platform.
Well, I'm making a very large mistake then because I'm behind on so much stuff. You see me. My Instagram's an embarrassment. I don't have a TikTok. I got banned 2 years ago and I haven't done anything about it. I'm working on it. I got to work on it.
I'm tagging you in all the Sledgelords stuff that I post.
Thank you.
But you don't have an account. You're just gonna have to be like extremely careful with what you post because so much. That girl Pearl that I had on the other day, you know her? The red pill chick. She just did a debate with Destiny. And, you have to watch the Vice feminism debate. You haven't seen it?
The Vice feminism debate?
Oh, my God. You have to see this. This is so viral. It's like 45 minutes. It's like, there's this girl, Pearl, I just interviewed who's kind of does like a female fresh and fit type thing out in London. And, it was like her and one other conservative girl, and they did this Vice feminism debate, and it was all super woke chicks, and there's like 3 of them are trans, and they're just, somehow Pearl just mopped the floor with them. She asked them, what opportunities do women not have in our society that men have? Blank stares. Nobody could come up with an answer. It was amazing.
Yeah,
and there actually are decent answers to that question. There's nobody could really think of any.
Certainly in our industry. I mean, I think women out-earn men across the board.
In comedy?
On
Podcasting?
On YouTube and porn.
Nobody watches girls on YouTube.
Makeup influencers?
Yeah, they have their own little niche.
They got their own. I mean, in comedy,
but YouTube's like 70% men or some shit, isn't it? And there's like no female comics that are popular.
It's definitely, you're right. It's definitely super man heavy. But podcasting, like there's this chick murder podcast that so many girls listen to. The Call Her Daddy chicks, they kill it in podcasting. Angela White, Sky Bree, Kazumi, all these girls are making $500,000 at least per month.
Nah, those are outliers. No, OnlyFans for sure girls kill it on. The question is just like, it feels like, okay, I'll just say this. I had a realization the other day because we've been talking about Plug Talk spinoffs, creating another.
Give me one.
No, absolutely not.
What if I just get cucked in it
you and Swolby.
By Jason Love?
You and Swolby fuck each other every week and then have a depressing 15-minute conversation about if you're gay after. No. All right. One of the Plug Talk spinoffs that we've talked about is doing like a girl Plug Talk, like we find a female host. Maybe Lena's on a lot of the episodes. Maybe she's not on all of them, but basically it's a couple of chicks having conversation and then they hook up. Now I know what you're thinking. You just fart?
No.
Oh.
Why would you accuse me of that?
I thought I heard a fart.
I don't even like fart humor.
Okay. But either way.
Is it because I crossed one?
I thought I heard a fart. But all right. So we're talking about that idea. And I know you're thinking like, Adam, you guys already have Plug Talk where you fuck the girls. Why would anybody want to see like girls hooking up? But lesbian porn is like one of the biggest categories online. So it's like, in theory, this is a pretty good idea. And my girl actually pointed out, she goes, if it's 2 girls having a conversation, I don't know the extent to which, like, I don't have any confidence that guys out there are going to watch a conversation between 2 women. I think there always needs to be a male present. Because from my experience, dudes do not watch women talk to each other on the internet. It just doesn't happen.
And it's not necessarily true the other way. There are girls who listen to only guy podcasts.
Oh, yeah. There's tons of girls, but it is a small percentage. When you look at No Jumper, it's like 85% male. I'm sure that like Joe Rogan or Joe Budden or whoever, they're probably not far off from that. But there's definitely women who listen to men. But I don't think men listen to women, at least from what I could tell. I can't think of almost any examples.
Here's what we do. We do the whole idea, but the only subject matter for the girls is football and bass fishing.
No.
They talk about that, and then they eat each other's pussies.
No. But what I did say is that we need to find like a neutral guy to be the host of it. No. Like just like a guy who's not gonna like be disruptive to the flow of the conversation, but at the same time can make sure that the conversation is kind of happening through the lens of a man.
Does he do anything sexual with the girls, or does he dismiss himself from the room?
No. It's a lesbian podcast. Of course, he's not involved. But
have
a
you seen Tom
host.
Brady's podcast?
No.
He's got this like 70-year-old stiff.
I
in
saw
a
him
suit.
molesting his kid, though.
I saw that too. Why did he post that? He's got to post that in order to go viral. That was a strategy. For sure, that was a strategy.
I don't think he's as terminally online as us. I don't think he realized that we were going to all take it that way.
He's probably very out of touch, honestly. Like, he doesn't go to the grocery store for himself. He hasn't been out in public without a very large security detail in years.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, he has a podcast, and his co-host, it feels so odd. It's like a 70-year-old guy in a suit with gray hair. I think we have one of those with the two chicks. Just like a professional baseball announcer, like, it's the bottom of the 7th here at Kansas City Royal Stadium. We get one of those guys to come out.
No.
And he reeks of cigar smoke.
Absolutely not. But I do wonder, like, who is the perfect guy? Because you know who I suggested?
Me.
He's too successful for it. He wouldn't do it. But I was like a Trevor Wallace type. Do you not know who that is?
Yeah, no, I know Trevor Wallace. Okay. I've met Trevor Wallace. I get it.
And I realized as I say that you are also a male comedian, so that you're thinking like, oh, like a Danny Mullen type. But I don't know. I feel like you're probably going to start calling one of the girls fat in the middle of it. That might be kind of odd.
And I'm definitely eventually going to start texting one inappropriate stuff.
See, that's what you'd have to find. You have to find a guy who's capable of being around hot chicks all the time and not making it creepy or weird or sexual, but then also being able to basically facilitate sexual conversations over and over and over.
Would you be upset if I was like calling people that you'd introduce me to in the middle of the night, like Skybury, and just making pig noises, like?
Yes, and I worry about that with many people that I introduce.
Is that creepy?
That specifically, yeah. But I've had very weird circumstances with girls that were coming around here, and then I hear about how the guys hit on her. Not really any of the present employees, but past employees.
You know, it's because the no jumper offices, there are attractive female employees.
Allegedly.
Is that a minefield that you've laid out intentionally in order to separate the creeps from the gentlemen?
No.
I think it is.
Anyone's
think you have eyes and
attractiveness
ears
is
everywhere.
entirely incidental.
I disagree. And I think it's a very smart play, my friend, because you can figure out who's reliable. And that's how you are able. Josh worked his way to the top of this franchise through having sex
he slept
with your
his way
sister.
to the top. Yeah.
He fucked your sister, and that's how you knew he was a solid bloke. I think if you put me on the Plug Talk Lesbian show, and I call up a couple of the hosts, and I go in the middle of the night, I think you'll know that I can likewise run the enterprise.
Practice your death metal vocals real quick.
That's bad, dude. Just give me a second. Dude, my pig squeal is off. Let me try this again.
That didn't sound like a full sentence.
It wasn't. I was just warming. It was my scale.
Did you go
It was
through
my
a
scale.
phase where you listened to black metal and death metal?
I got into it like everybody else. I was in line at all the hardcore shows at the Underground Cafe in Roseville.
Okay, but that hardcore show is a little different than like black metal. That's like.
Well, I wasn't born in Norway, so I couldn't get into black metal.
But I listened to some of it for a period of time, and I used to like get a Cradle of Filth CD and then open it up and have like the CD booklet and be reading the lyrics along. And the idea that these guys are actually saying the things that are listed in that book, especially when you're talking about crazy ass grindcore bands, it's very hard to believe. And then you get lost.
Okay.
Because what you're hearing from these dudes who are going, it doesn't look anything like the lyrics there. And then you realize you're reading along to the wrong song and that the lyrics got switched between two different songs, but it doesn't really even sound like they're saying anything. I'm glad I don't listen to this shit anymore.
We're going to play a game right now. I'm going to say a couplet of black metal lyrics in English plainly, and then you're going to do the vocal recording of it.
I could try.
Then you're going to give me a couplet of spoken, mellow black metal lyrics, and I'm going to scream them.
Give me a bar.
Okay, so it's because black metal is...
Because I'm just going to go off the top of like how I would perform. If I was like summoned to the stage at a black metal concert, I'm just going to go with whatever. Give me a bar.
Too long have the oppressive totalitarian forces had their cold grip on my homeland. I will take to the streets and have my voice be heard from the rooftops. Tonight is your night. The torches will be lit.
I don't want to like summon the Proud Boys or anything.
They're going to come once you do the Vokes, and I'm waiting
Oh, no,
for
no, I'm going to hit you with a bar. What do you say?
Okay.
What did Trump say? Proud Boys stand up and stand by.
Oh, we're actually doing Proud Boy lyrics now?
No, but what did he say that? Because that's the bar that I want to do. Because what you said was retarded and too long.
That's how it goes,
What did
dude.
he say?
Metal
The
lyrics.
Proud Boys stand by. What did Trump say? I got to look it up now. Stand back and stand by. God damn it!
It was Sydney who
I
was
missed
able
the
to
200K screenshot. It went to 200.1.
block a bunch of people. Thank you, Sydney, by the way, for sharing us the Proud Boy thing. Dude, that was good.
That's what I imagine them doing. My throat hurts from doing that one time.
You sound like a snake that's been cornered.
But that's what I feel. That's what I don't understand is how these dudes can go on tour in a black metal band for years and years and do this like every night and not absolutely torch their vocals.
A lot of them do. That's why you hear a lot of metal and hardcore records where the vocals sound awesome on the first record. And then on the second one, the guy's just sort of grumbling. He's just like, yeah, I'll kick your ass in the grass if you make a pass at my pants.
But they actually get new singers at like a weird frequency too.
It's like the Spinal Tap drummer.
But the successful lyricists are the ones who are able to go out there and do that shit over and over and over and somehow manage it. But I've known even rappers who, I remember Smoke Perp would be losing his fucking voice. Like, I would be backstage with him and he'd be gargling honey and shit. Pause.
Well, also the problem is if you are a rock star or a rap star, you're partying a lot, and the entire the other guys in the ensemble, the bassist and the drummer, can party their asses off, but it's the singer or the rapper whose voice goes when he's not sleeping and he's slamming JD. But you still haven't given me my black metal verse, dude. Listen, the shirt you had on, let me say this, the shirt you had on at the AVN Awards was a record called Transylvanian Hunger, I believe.
Really?
What are they called?
Dark Throne?
Dark Throne.
I just found that in a random CD store. I haven't listened to them in like 20 years.
I think it's a concept album about the communist grip on some bleak Soviet state.
Oh, I support that.
You need to give me a set of lyrics, and then I'm going to translate them into metal vocals. Here we go. Poetry.
I want to hear you say, an oral history of Tupac Shakur. That wasn't even anything close. I thought I actually did pretty good.
With what? Reading the title of the book?
No, like when I said the thing I said, I forget what I said.
The Proud Boys thing.
Oh, yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, the thing that's going to get this podcast demonetized and maybe us deplatformed.
I wonder if when the woke left turns on me, which I'm sure they already have, but for summoning the Proud Boys, I wonder if they will consider the black metal vocals to be like a sign that I wasn't serious, or if they will just indict me regardless.
If they take you down, they better take down Sydney as well.
She's a proud girl.
What does that mean? Stand down and stand by? What does that fucking mean?
That's why everybody couldn't believe it, because it sounded like he was basically telling them to like be posted up and ready to go to war. Like, and then January 6th happened like not long after, which was kind of, everybody took that as like a little bit of a dog whistle, right? Wild times.
So what are the Proud Boys? Because the Proud Boys, like Gavin McGinnis,
I wish I went to the Capitol on January 6th to do man on the street TikTok content.
It would have gone
With
big.
Bossa Nova wearing a suit of armor.
Yeah, catch a flight down to Brazil, dude. Are you kidding me? Go down to fucking Brazil right now. The same thing's happening.
The Proud Boys, well, Gavin McGinnis, I remember back in the day, started it like, and he talked about it on Joe Rogan, and he was kind of referring to it as like an ironic like men's group sort of thing, where he didn't seem like, he wanted it to be sort of like conservative leaning, but he didn't want it to be like a violent organization. And then I think things just really spiraled out of control over the next year or two. And he disavowed it maybe like a year or two after that. Like he wasn't really a part of it for that long.
But he's forever branded as that.
Yeah.
Isn't that I noticed that a lot on Wikipedia pages. It seems like if you do anything or you're associated with anything that's conservative, the left or the mainstream media or Wikipedia immediately labels you as far right. Or if you do something like have anything to do with the Proud Boys, you're alt-right. And then you can never get that little tag removed from your Wikipedia page. And if it says you're far right, it's basically saying you're a Nazi.
But I feel like
you're unemployable.
If you join
now.
the Proud Boys, you kind of are far right.
Agreed.
Right?
Now, yeah,
fair.
agreed. But also, like I did, so I got to maybe do more research on what I'm getting on. But this guy who was a big fan of my channel worked with Rebel News.
Okay.
And the dude was like super level-headed. We did an interview. It was just about comedy. But then I look up Rebel News, and it says it's fucking alt-right. And it just got this huge list of controversies. And I was like, well, there you go. When I get a Wikipedia page made for myself, it's probably going to say that I'm associated with the alt-right Rebel News.
See, I remember a YouTuber one time telling me that like Steven Crowder tried to interview him, and he had to say no because he didn't want to be viewed in that light. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because I never even had to think about that, because I've never been offered that kind of thing. But probably it would be a good idea for me to not do that, because realistically, then Steven Crowder like simulating the George Floyd murder, that's kind of going to be like the main talking point from anybody who doesn't like me in rap, is going to be like, look at Adam 22 sitting down and having a fun conversation with this guy who did this George Floyd reenactment, whatever. It's like, you're kind of going to be judged for like the worst sin. But then also, I see tons of people doing shit with Alex Jones, and he's kind of got like the worst sin possible. He fucking with the Sandy Hook thing, right?
And then you've got Nick Fuentes in here. And
I didn't get any real shit from people on the left for that.
See, I don't think you... And it's one thing intellectually to support going on and doing an interview with Steven Crowder, be like, yeah, hey, I don't have to agree with everything he said or done to do an interview with him. But I also get, other than intellectually, there's just the self-preservation element in this modern society where, like, I don't want to have my Wikipedia saying that I tacitly endorsed reenacting George Floyd's death by doing that interview.
I don't think it was just by going on the show that they would be able to blame that on you in the Wikipedia, but...
We'll top on Steven Crowder, dude.
Maybe he'll have us.
He's done some good stuff. He did a clip where he infiltrated Antifa. Took some fucking ball.
Really?
Yeah, he's done some funny sketches.
He's definitely done some funny stuff. I don't really love him for the most part. But okay, that's the thing, is that me and you, realistically, if we tried to get on like a bunch of like progressive podcasts and stuff, it's probably not happening, right?
No.
They're not gonna fuck with us. But meanwhile, Steven Crowder would probably be, I'm not saying he would love to have us on the show, but he probably would, right? Closer at least. It's kind of like a weird thing. It's like once you've been canceled by the left, it's kind of easy to be like, all right, I'll just go fuck with everybody on the right. But
yeah, it's bad. We had Ben, formerly of Tim Dillon's podcast, Ben Avery, on our show, and he was telling us that he's trying to get jobs writing for sitcoms in Hollywood, any kind of writing job in Hollywood, and he was told, no, there's no shot because you were on InfoWars once. He did some sort of segment on InfoWars. And I'm not sure what the nature of that segment was or if it was even political in nature. But because he's associated with InfoWars, he can never work in this town again.
I'm not really all that surprised, honestly. And yeah, that's pretty much like Hollywood for you at this point. I saw a video game company. I wish I could more specifically name them, but they were called out. Like, there was an employee who got called out by another employee for the fact that they followed Blair White and I think Tim Pool, and just following Blair White and Tim Pool on Twitter was enough for the video game company to put out a public statement announcing that this employee had been fired and essentially denouncing, conservative beliefs or whatever.
Wow.
I mean, that's some scary shit right there, bro.
Did you hear about the banjo player from Mumford & Sons getting kicked out of the band for saying on Twitter that Andy No's book about Antifa was good?
Well, it was positioned as if he just left, but yeah, you could imagine there was probably like a ton of pressure on him to leave at a certain point, and that the band was going to continuously just get smeared over and over. But yeah, it's definitely an environment where to have any kind of conservative position is big liability for your business.
And I went down the Hollywood rabbit hole this weekend. I actually wanted to bring this up to you. Before we got on the plane, I found this kid on Instagram he was a mainstream TV writer. I used to want to be a mainstream TV writer too. So I followed this kid who was making noise because he had written a spec pilot, which is or a spec script. A spec script is when you just write a script for a show that already exists and you don't get paid for it. You just release it on the internet. People see it, see you have talent, see you know how to write in the format of sitcom television, and you get a job based off it. He wrote a spec script that did really, really well, and he got a job. He wrote for 2 very well-known shows. Well, I was going down his list of followers and people he follows on Instagram, because he only follows and is followed by about 1,000 people. And I was just curious because the people he follows are going to be all Hollywood writers, actors, and producers. And I'm going to get a look into that window and see what's going on the ground these days. 90% of them had their pronouns in their bio. And of that 90%, 50% had a they somewhere in that bio too.
Wow.
And it was weird because it wasn't always a they, them. There would often be a she, they, or they, she, or they, her. And the first thing I thought is, like, who determines where the they goes, before or after the slash?
Right.
But also, it made me realize that this is so Clearly, there's social pressure to put the pronouns in the bio. Even if your name is Rebecca and you have hair down to your nipples, to work in TV, it's better that you have she, her in there, but you'll have even a better chance getting a pilot job or, a staff job on a writing staff if you have they inserted somewhere.
Right. And that's how canceled we are, is that if they were to just take a clip of us, presumably we've had conversations on here about, like, if a biological male is a woman once they transition to woman, the stuff we've said on here would be easily enough to make sure that we never worked in Hollywood.
Even us just tossing that idea around.
Yeah.
Are you a woman technically?
Yeah. And when you become gigantic, if you're Dave Chappelle, if you're Joe Rogan, you're offered some degree of immunity to this, which,
Not much, though.
Just in the sense that they can't really hurt you, that like Spotify's not going to turn their back on Rogan. I mean, presumably Dave Chappelle will have more Netflix specials to come, but I mean, they get that kind of leverage by being the biggest fucking comedians in the world.
What do you think's going to happen? My theory is that, and you probably agree with this, that
The Daily Wire is going to create a right-wing Hollywood in Austin, and that's going to be
Nashville, dude, in Nashville.
Right. It will be. Are they in Nashville?
Dude, Austin's way too woke for the
Damn, I
Daily
should
Wire.
have gone there when I was in Nashville.
Do a bit at the Daily Wire.
I don't know if I was like, I would sit down with Ben Shapiro. I don't see any reason he wouldn't want to talk to me, but I find him a lot less contemptuous than Crowder.
I like Ben Shapiro a lot. I think sometimes, obviously, he's doing what we were talking about earlier. He just has to take the hardline right stance, and he's turning something relatively little into this huge cultural war issue. But eventually, dude, with YouTube and with podcasting, when are those gatekeepers who check your Instagram to make sure there are pronouns? Or when are those gatekeepers who scroll through all of your past podcast episodes like they did to Shane Gillis, and then they found that he said chink, and then they made sure he didn't get SNL? When are those people going to become obsolete? Because the mainstream television networks and even the big streaming platforms are powerless to people like you and I who do our own thing on YouTube.
I think it's just kind of a matter of time before more and more corporate stuff gets kind of like replaced by shit that's more raw. Because when you look at Shane Gillis, like, he would have had a cool career on SNL and everything like that. I'm sure that would have been great for him, and he would have got opportunities to be in movies or whatever, like, off of that level of fame. But when I listen to his podcast, he's calling shit retarded. He's calling his friends gay. He's saying that shit is gay, like, and he's just clearly not concerned about getting canceled for that kind of shit. And I think it's just like a matter of time before people realize that, like, most of the stuff that's being produced by these fucking lame ass woke corporations isn't really like stuff that they are all that interested in, which is hard to kind of happen, because when you look at all these podcasts and stuff from people who are more free thinking, it seems like they are kind of dominating away. But what's not happening is that nobody's creating like $100 million movie that's going to be in every movie theater, in which Shane Gillis stars in it and calls everything gay the whole time, which to me would be like, that would be proof of like, oh, look at like real competition to like real Hollywood shit. But also, like, what even is the market for a fucking $100 million movie these days? I don't know.
The Shane Gillis one, that sounds good. Hey, Shane, you want to go to the park? Nah, outside's gay.
It's gay.
You want some breakfast?
The whole crowd
There's a
just
laugh track. Oh, the crowd dies.
The crowd dies. He said gay.
And you want to go to the
Sky
bar?
Bree tried to hit me with that while I was out there. I said, like, I'm not wearing that shirt. That shit's gay. She's like, oh, Adam. I'm like, you think they're going to cancel me? I'm done for. I'm good.
And let me ask you, because I definitely feel that as I've made more money, and I certainly don't have a lot of money, but as you have enough money to tide you over for a couple of years, my fear of cancellation goes down. Every X amount of dollars deposited into my bank account, I'm a little less scared, because if I do get canceled, I'm not going to have to worry about it until 2024.
Kind of, but I think what happens to a lot of people is that they start to make a bit of money in Hollywood, and then they also start to see everybody else in Hollywood and realize how much money they're making by being writers or working on this project or whatever, and they realize, like, I don't want to like say something that's going to stop me from getting to that next level within this business.
Yeah. Realistically, though, John Cena didn't have to apologize in Mandarin for acknowledging the existence of Taiwan. John Cena has plenty of money as it is. So I get it. He wants to sustain that lifestyle. He's on the treadmill. But realistically, if you got absolutely canceled. Not only do they kick you off all the social media platforms, they also
That's another level of cancellation.
but also like PayPal won't do business with you. Bank of America won't.
But that's like Nick Fuentes canceled. I'm canceled. Like they're not going to give me a role in a sitcom on ABC.
Exactly. But even if you got Nick Fuentes canceled, as long as you still had access to all of your money, you would be just fine, right?
Yeah, but Nick Fuentes, like, I don't know. That's a bad kind of canceled. Because
Yeah,
they're like,
he
fucking,
can't fly.
you can't have a bank account. He can't fly.
He can't fly, so on the fly list.
That's fucked.
How does he really can't have a bank account though? Because so what does he do?
I think crypto and stuff.
That's how he makes his
He
living.
use Yay Coin. Probably. Can I just end this? I have to pee. I just want to tell you that. So there's this porn star named Nicolette Shea.
You can also, if we need to take a piss break, I'm down to do that whenever. We don't have to.
I'm done. I just want to tell you this one last story and go pee. But Nicolette Shea. She's a porn star who's been in the game for a long ass time. Biggest fake tits you ever seen. Biggest fake ass you ever seen. But she's pretty hot. She's fucking tall. She's like almost as tall as me. But she hangs out with mad trans chicks, right? And so she comes through the line at the Plug Talk booth, and she introduces me to all of her homegirls. Now, Adam's little spidey sense starts going off, and I realize pretty quickly they're all trans. Mm-hmm. And one of them, who's, I would say maybe taller than me, and quite beautiful, for sure, she informs me that her intent is for me to suck their dick. Suck her dick, really.
Wow.
I guess would probably be.
Wow.
And I had to kind of check myself because I'm on camera, and I have many different languages that I have to speak in any given day. You know, I have to code switch quite a bit.
What's the one you always click to me in mockery of African languages before we start the podcast? You should stop doing that.
No, I don't.
You always do that.
That's
dude.
not offensive because I don't even know anyone who does that.
You always click at me, man. Stop.
And
you do it at Flacco too.
I
It's
almost,
fucked up.
no, I do not. I almost felt a little bit offended for a minute. I had like my AD brain going for a second. My AD hat emblazed with rhinestones. I had the AD hat for a second, and I was like, and then I was like, no, you're on camera.
That was Scooby Doo.
You're at the porn convention. You got to be cool. You got to roll with it. You got to just have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Act like it's all good.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I was like, maybe I will. I don't know. I don't remember what I said.
Just imagine if you or I had gone up to Angela White, for instance, and I tapped her on the shoulder. I said, hey, Angela White, I'm not going to say this definitively, but there's a good chance you're going to be slobbing my knob before the sun rises. Imagine if we did that.
That would have hit different.
It would have hit different.
Trans woman privilege.
It's crazy, right? And if a girl, I will say this, if a girl, it's something about the penis, but to me, if a girl came up to me and said, like, oh, I want you to eat my pussy when she was blacked out, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if a trans girl came up and said, I want you to eat my asshole, it is more menacing because there's a penis. Something about that penis. If it's a post-op transgender post-op, then I'm less threatened.
Well, during the moment where this trans woman, which much respect to her, during this moment where she was suggesting that I should suck her dick, it wasn't, it was clear to me also
That's a fun sentence, isn't it?
that she could probably beat my ass. Like it wouldn't
Taller
be
than you,
It would be close.
So you felt threatened.
I didn't feel threatened, but it also was in the back of my mind that if this were to turn into a fist fight, I would possibly lose
and possibly get raped at the end. That's tough. And in Hollywood's eyes, if this got out, this person is immune from cancellation because they are trans.
What I just said would make sure that I never worked on The Wonder Years with Fred Savage.
I disagree. See, you were just worried for your own safety. But because you were worried about your own safety with respect to a trans person, you're in trouble.
There was another person who came through the line where very briefly I almost exclaimed to her, whoa, you got huge muscles. And then the trans alarm went off in my head and I was like, do not say that. I didn't say it.
Well, if they still have huge muscles, they might be working out.
But they were only huge, like, from the perspective of, like, it being a woman.
Got it. Yeah, that'd be bad.
For a man, it would have been kind of a regular amount of muscle.
Yeah, that would be like going up to a straight girl and being like, you have a fat belly.
Yeah.
It's like, are you related to a pot-bellied pig? It's in that neighborhood of insulting.
Do you know Pumbaa?
I've seen The Lion King.
That's...
Oh, the warthog. Okay. Yeah. Ask the person.
He's like very concerned.
I've
seen The Lion King.
I have, dude. It's great.
All right, I got to piss.
All right, for sure.
Can you do the outro now?
Yeah, I can do the outro.
Hit it.
All right. Are you going to piss? Because I want to have full creative control here.
Control. Okay, yeah. I won't even know what
Listen, guys. Adam 22 isn't, but he should be registered as a sex offender. I have it on good faith. I have it on very, very good faith that he pays Bossa Nova in cash each month to be his getaway driver. His getaway driver from what, you might be asking? Well, Bossa Nova at 2:30 p.m. sharp every Thursday is driving getaway in Lena the Plug's white Range Rover. He drives Adam, who's riding shotgun, past Green Oaks Elementary School. That's right, the one over there in the corner of La Brea and Fairfax. They pull up just as school is letting out, and all of the little tykes are rushing excitedly toward their mama, or papa. After a long day at school, they're looking forward to going home, playing some Nintendo, having a milkshake. But before they can enjoy those spoils, they must behold Adam 22's throbbing, recently pierced member, which is pressed against the rolled up window of the Range Rover. Do they know it's Adam 22? No, because he's wearing a ski mask. And the license plate on the Range Rover has cardboard hastily duct taped over it. He shows him his penis. Bossa Nova throws up a middle finger. He beeps twice, and they speed around the corner. It's Los Angeles. We defunded the police. There's nobody on this case, but I implore you, if you have a heart, if you have a speck of decency in your being, report him. Report him to the mob. Take to Instagram. Take to his beloved TikTok, and let it be known. You know, let's get something going here. Let's get a movement going. Hashtag Stop the Flash. You know, remember Stop the Steal? Stop the Flash. Stop the Flash, people. Because those kids at Green Oaks Elementary School, they deserve to preserve their innocence.